So Danielle, what do you think our prospects are for this season?
Oh, well, my mother said that she's not going to let me marry anything less than a duke.
My mother says that she doesn't want me to go for anyone for less than $10,000 a year.
10,000 a year?
That won't even pay our property taxes.
Well, not in this town.
So maybe when the regiment's in town, we might have some chances.
Did you hear about Lily, though?
What about her?
So you know how she and Edward have just been butting heads for years.
I know, it's been such drama.
I know. So I heard recently that in that snowstorm, they ended up getting stuck together up north.
No, in that cabin?
In the cabin.
In Vermont?
In Vermont.
Oh.
And I heard that their hate is turning to something a little bit not as much that.
But wasn't there only one bed?
Yes. And I heard that he didn't sleep on the couch.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But then, didn't her long-lost lover from the Bahamas, didn't he come in on Lake Champlain?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't think he's heard about it yet.
What? Oh, no. So he doesn't know that they've been love at first sight and then affianced?
He does not.
Well, that's going to be drama.
I know. I can't wait to hear what's going on with that.
But wasn't there an inheritance involved?
Oh, yeah. So that was the ex. He needs to marry before the end of the year in order to inherit his grandmother's fortune. And I really think he was counting on Lily for that.
But do her parents approve?
Oh, they approve of him, but I don't think they approve of Edward.
I heard that her brother has some sort of feud going on with the media empire that he's running, though.
Oh, yeah, no, that's terrible. But, you know, that brother has always been a little bit of a black sheep.
Oh, well, in his kilt making empire as well that he's currently invested in the Highlands of Scotland, I think there's going to be a little bit of some sort of tiff that's going on. I've heard that there's quite some drama on the celebrity pages.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know if you heard, but it actually turns out that there's this girl over there that he knows. And I hear that she's getting her bodice ripped regularly.
You don't say.
I just did. Welcome to Shelf Improvement
At the Hopkinton Public Library.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our genre of the month. Today, I have Jack Miller here. She's our teen librarian, and she is here to talk with me about romance. So, Jack, can you tell me a little bit about the romance genre, what it is, why people read it?
Yeah, definitely. So romance is, well, the best genre because it always ends happily, or at least ends with good emotional resolution for the characters. So romance is something that always includes love. So it could be emotional love, it could be physical love, there could be a lust element to it, but there's always going to be at least some love element, and then you're going to have some resolution. Most romance does also contain elements that have some sort of friction that exists to drive the main love interest or the main characters apart in some way that creates some sort of tension that will then eventually bring them back together.
Well, that sounds lovely.
It sounds lovely.
You see
or
what I did
loverly.
there?
Mm-hmm.
So you talked a little bit about physical attraction between characters.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of our readers have very strong preferences about how much physical interaction they want between their characters. Can you talk a little bit about how that and how to look for romance books that will fit kind of what you're looking for, and how to talk to librarians about kind of what you're looking for?
Definitely. So first of all, romance exists in all age levels and all ability levels for reading, everything from children's books all the way up to, because love exists in every element and every kind of genre or subgenre within romance. And so you can have romance that is everything from a little bit more of a platonic romance that exists that culminates with an emotional romance, that there's no physicality whatsoever, to something that is very what we call our spiciness level, that could even verge on the edge of erotica. And it's perfectly okay to want one and not the other, or sometimes want one and not the other. They all scratch very different itches for some people. We have something that could please, in certain aspects, everybody. With that said, that's something that librarians and our library staff are trained to address for our readers. So we would like, when readers want romance, to be able to communicate to us of, hey, I want something that maybe culminates in a first kiss or an emotional connection. And then some, hey, I want something that fades to black before a bedroom scene happens. And then some that are okay with having more explicit scenes. But just that communication is really important for us, and that way we can get something that a reader's comfortable with and that doesn't exceed their comfort levels.
Absolutely. So can you talk about some examples of subgenres of romance that you're seeing a lot of right now?
Yeah, so romance has changed a lot in the past, I would say 15 to 20 years. Romance used to just be seen of the Harlequin romances that used to be on those like little spinners that you would see in libraries and in bookstores. That is very different now. It is not just the Fabio, the bodice rippers, the corset busters of the world. It's very different now. We see everything from one of my favorite subgenres, which is queer romance, everything that is very diverse. Queer romance is a very broad genre that can deal with everything from folks who identify anywhere on the LGBTQ plus spectrum, which also includes asexual romance, women love women romance, like sapphic romance, gay romance, bi romance, you name it, that's all part of those genres. Stuff like Heartstopper, for instance, which is a great graphic novel that's aimed at mostly at teens at this point. Netflix did a series on that. That's queer romance. Royal romance is huge right now. American Royals is a big one. Red, white, and royal blue, that sort of stuff. Sports romance, also really big. And that's something that's actually been a real hit among, especially, not to stereotype, but especially guys are also getting in on sports romance. One of my favorite subgenres as well. We have a lot of mystery and thriller romance crossover. Colleen Hoover writes a lot of those as well, because there is on some of hers a little bit more of like a hyped up element. Romantasy, so that's romance fantasy blending. Think ACOTAR, so A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. You have a big element of fantasy, but then it's heavy romance. Classic retellings like Romeo and Juliet retellings, that sort of stuff. Body positive romance, that is something that has really come out big in the last few years, that are showing all sorts of bodies, whether it's disability or neurodiversity or different body types. All of that's being included and inclusive in different types of romance. I think Chloe Leese, she's writing a lot of romance for that. And then, of course, historical romance. So the Bridgerton genre, that's a whole genre in and of itself, really, as well as anything by Maya Banks. Think the Scottish Highland romance, and that's huge. But if you missed any of that, you can really come into we'll have a full link of recommendations that's going to be at the bottom of this recording.
Yeah, that'll be accessible to folks. So you listed a whole bunch of things there. But let's say I'm more into like baking or dinosaurs or fine home building. Like, are there romances about building homes?
Yeah, there are. I just read a great one called Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. It's actually a queer romance, and it is about a couple who is going through, well, they're not a couple, it's an enemies to lovers, and they become a couple that's going through a major home renovation on an old B&B. It's half home improvement, basically, and the other half falling in love. So if there's a niche passion of yours, I can find you a romance for that.
Challenge accepted, my friend. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today for our genre of the month. Again, our genre today was romance because it is February. And next month, we will have a new genre for you to learn a little bit more about. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Thing of the Month. You may know that the library has a library of things. This is a part of the library that has non-traditional items that you can borrow and use at home. So for example, this month we are featuring some of our stamp sets. So you can come into the library or you can browse on our online catalog. We have probably about 20 or 30 of these in different varieties. So I can open this up and we can see that this one is a gardening set. And so we have some beautiful leaves here. We've got some lovely flowers. And these are all things that you can take home and use at home and then bring back to the library and return, just like a book. This is really nice because it means that you don't have to go out and buy a new stamp set every time you want to do something with a different season on it or a different type of animal or a different theme. All of these are just available for you to come and use. And we also have tons of other interesting things in our library of things. So feel free to browse that on our catalog. We will link that down in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. Or you can always come in and talk to one of our librarians about the wide variety of items that we have available to you folks. Thank you so much for joining me for the Thing of the Month, and I hope to see you next month. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our special guest segment. Today, I'm here with Anne-Marie Spiker, who is the moderator of our Chat and Chew Book Club. Hello, Anne-Marie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
So I have a couple questions for you about this book club. So firstly, what is special about the Chat and Chew Book Club? What's different from other book clubs?
Well, a lot of book clubs choose one book, and it's either the moderator chooses a book or the group of people who are participating choose a book. We chose instead to have everyone bring a book that was special to them, and so each month we talk about different books. So it may be a little confusing for some because we don't take a lengthy time on each book, but we each get a chance to learn new things, learn new genres, and we have a lot of things to talk about, which is what we're there for. So we've been going on for about 6 years. We started right after the library was open, the new library. So we've been going strong for a while, and we have some usuals, some people that just love to come. They love to do that, and they love to meet each other. So it's a good camaraderie. It's a good group of people.
Good. Yeah, that's a really cool system where everybody gets to read whatever they like.
Yes.
And then bring that to the group instead of everybody having to read the same thing.
The downside is we end up wanting to read each other's books. So not only have we read the books that we chose to talk about, but then we're like, oh, I want to read that. I want to read that. So we have a larger list of, and so like at the end of this month's Chat and Chew reviews that I did, I mentioned about 3 or 4 books that we had already discussed and I had reviewed, so I didn't review them again, but I mentioned them because they were really good books and we had other people that read them again, so why not give them a shout out? So I did.
That's lovely. So can you tell me a little bit just about like book groups in general? Like what are some social benefits of attending a book group?
You get to meet new people, meet new books. It's a comfortable place. I mean, we generally meet in the Ellsworth room, which is just a wonderful, lovely old room in the library. People just love that comfort and that coziness.
What about some reading benefits that you might get from attending a book club?
Well, I'm probably the only one of the group that reads just about everything. I read nonfiction and fantasy and mystery and literary fiction, so I'm all over the board. And people are always joking about that. Oh, what'd you read this time? But that's the benefit. I mean, I've read people that I've never read before. Like, I'm not a huge mystery reader, but I love Louise Penny because one of our members loves her, and so she's read some of her books, and so now I've read some of her books. I don't read a heavy amount of nonfiction, but I do. And so when someone reads something, like we read just recently a great book on Alzheimer's, and we had a little discussion on that, and it's a new book, and it's a memoir, and I like memoirs. And so, you just get to know other genres that you probably wouldn't pick up, or a book that you wouldn't probably pick up just because the cover looks fancy. So
you talked a little bit about some conversations that you've had about some genres that you maybe did not think that you were interested in, that you then found some interest in when other folks talked about it. And you also mentioned the book on Alzheimer's, which is maybe a little bit of a tough topic for some folks. And I know that may be something that kind of maybe frightens people going into a book club, not knowing what sorts of topics they might be expected to talk about. So like what kind of topics do you talk about, and how do you approach topics that might be tough for people or that some people may feel uncomfortable talking about?
So far, I guess most of the people that have been part of the book club are open to new ideas and new thoughts, and I've never, I think the Alzheimer's book that we chose was not sort of a medical book, it was a memoir, which are very popular. I mean, I think memoirs are very approachable, and this book was about a family actually who were Indian, and so culturally it was difficult for them. They didn't have a lot of family other than, immediate family. A lot of the other family was in India. So, and the main character, was a doctor, so he did a lot of research. So there was a little bit of the research background that we learned about, but also just about, how to care for a father who was slowly losing, into himself and going into dementia. So I think that, the issue itself is prevalent, is out there, and a lot of people are dealing with it. So I didn't feel that it was quite as scary as one might think. We also did a wonderful book about the Sacklers. It was like jaw-dropping for most of us, and that part was really scary. I had no idea what that book was about or what that family was about. So nonfiction is probably the area that is kind of real nitty-gritty, and we really get a lot to chew on. Some of the other books that are more lighter, we talk about travel, depending on where the book is situated. A lot of people like France and England, so we talk about the genre and the area and the travel area where they're set up. And again, a lot of people just read fiction just for comfort. So we do pretty much a lot more fiction than we do nonfiction, but we jump into the nonfiction too because it's like, oh, well, I've never heard of that, or that's a good thing to learn about. Thank you. So yeah, it's a great place just to toss around ideas, and there's no, it's safe. That's the best thing. It's safe. There's nothing anybody says that is off limits, and I think that's a great part about it. We're just a comfortable group of people that are willing to talk about anything.
So just approaching it with an open mind.
Yes, exactly.
Great. So if folks want to join the Chat and Chew Book Club, when do you folks meet?
Generally, we meet every third week in the month on a Wednesday, and we meet 12:30 to 2. We're also meeting virtually, so we're considered hybrid now. That way, if you choose not to come in, if it's a bad day or whatever, you can go in and register, and you'll get your link, and you can connect with us via Google Meet.
If you're interested in registering for that, and if you're watching this on YouTube, we will have the link down in the description. So thank you so much, Anne-Marie, for joining us today.
And thank you. Please join us.
Hello, and welcome to On the Horizon. In this segment, we'll be talking about things that the library is just coming out with or things that we've got coming up soon. And today, I want to introduce you all to a new collection in the library that just launched that we are all so excited about. We are now able to loan items that are in languages other than English for our patrons who don't speak English or who speak additional languages who want to read in those languages. This is a project that is courtesy of the Boston Public Library. We are able to use some of their collection to lend to you folks at home. And this is, again, something that we are so excited for because we know that there are so many folks in our community who speak languages or read languages other than English who want to engage with those languages at the library. So I want to talk about some of our newest items. We have this month items in Portuguese, Hindi, and Spanish. These items will be on the lower level of the library, so when you come in, you can go down the stairs or take the elevator down and they will be down there. You can always ask the librarian at the desk if you need a hand finding them. These books have these nice little tags on the front, which just remind you that these are from the Hopkinton Library and that you should return them to us. And then, of course, unlike many of our other books, on the inside, this one has Hindi. And we are, again, so excited to be able to offer these to our folks who speak and read Hindi or who speak and read Portuguese or Spanish. And there are also opportunities for us to borrow items in other languages. for different audiences. So if you're interested in items for teens or for children, we can look into getting that as well. Or even items in nonfiction on specific topics if there's something that you'd like. So please let everyone that you know who might find this collection useful that we are now doing this. And always feel free to reach out to us at the library to tell us about languages that you might be interested in or topics that you might want to read about. Thank you so much for joining me for On the Horizon, and we will see you next time. Hey everyone, this is Danielle, and I'm here to show you some of the materials that I have for our 2024 Adult Take and Makes. All right, so I have a couple things here. We've got some lovely little grapevine wreaths. Aren't those adorable? We're gonna do something really fun with those. We've got some foam eggs. We are not making eggs, but we've got some of those. That'll be great. I have some glow-in-the-dark paint. Look at that vibrancy. That is gonna be incredible. We've got, for all of you jewelry fans out there, we're gonna do a little bit of jewelry making with some of these. And last but not least, we have some copper wire here. Look at that, nice and shiny. So I'm not gonna spill the beans and tell you what crafts we're gonna do with all of these things, but for those of you who are Take and Make fans, watch out for these items in your upcoming Take and Makes. I am so excited to get these out to you. But wait, this month we're looking for photos of you with your favorite book. Send your images to Hopkinton Library at hopkintonma.gov and you'll have a chance to be featured in our next episode. Bye!